All right, so thank you for bearing with us while we get the presentation up. My name is Chris Powers. I'm a contributor to DXdao, where I focus on governance. What's happening? So today, DAOs are following DeFi into a multi-chain world. So what does this mean? I think everyone in this room knows kind of the promise of DAOs. It's been a popular topic for many years, but it's really only within the last year or two that you've seen DAOs really grow and take giant leaps forward. And what was driving that was the success and growth of DeFi, right? It's only when you have these DeFi protocols and products that require on-chain decisions that do you see that like DAO infrastructure, that DAO tooling start to flourish. And the same thing is happening now with the multi-chain world, right? Any DeFi product, any DeFi protocol, the most important thing they're trying to figure out is how can we live on more than one chain? How can we have a decentralized exchange on Ethereum, layer 2, a side chain, maybe even another non-EVM chain? And that push from DeFi is what's pulling along DAOs to try to figure out how they can operate in a multi-chain world. So to kind of set the table for what I want to talk about today, I think there's two big approaches to cross-chain governance, right? So I think the cross-chain communication one is about a address on one chain that's basically able to control another address on another chain, and that happens through communication, cross-chain communication through some type of bridge. So Aave, Maker, and Gnosis, Zodiac's bridge module are all forms of this that enable communication between the chains and enable control of one address on one chain to the other one. That contrasts a lot with DXdao's approach. So DXdao has what we call chain-native bases, and this is possible because of our reputational-based governance structure, which we'll get to in a second here. This is Aave's cross-chain kind of architecture here. As you can see, their architecture is meant to be flexible for interacting between any EVM chain. Kind of at the core of it here is this Polygon bridge executor and the Polygon executor base. So the Polygon bridge executor is what actually reads transactions from the bridge and picks up any messages or transactions that it should relay along to the bridge executor base, which is basically like the base of Aave on that. Now, it's important with Aave's infrastructure is that it is bridge agnostic. So you can see in this architecture how much of the core of it is based upon the Polygon bridge, and so that means it's relying on the security of the Polygon bridge there. So far, Aave has done a successful bridge transaction to the Polygon base, so they have had a test proposal that passed mainnet Aave governance and then was executed on Polygon through this cross-chain communication tool. The Aave markets are live on Polygon and Avalanche, but neither are yet governed by by Aave. Maker is a similar approach, a little bit different for a couple reasons. First and foremost, Maker wants to enable native DAI minting on other chains, right? I think anyone knows opening up a CDP on mainnet is like prohibitively expensive. So part of Maker's goal in making DAI cross-chain is not to make just DAI easily bridgeable across-chain, but how can you open up a loan or a CDP on another chain, and how does that kind of fit into the overall Maker risk framework? And then the other big difference with Maker is their architecture is more designed for layer 2 systems. So with Aave, as you can see here, it's basically between two chains entirely, and it actually requires two different contracts here, the Polygon bridge executor and the bridge executor base. But with Maker, really this one single contract, the L2 governance relay, is kind of like the base or the base of Maker on the layer 2. And that contract can only accept orders, messages from the L1 governance relay contract on mainnet, which is directly controllable by Maker governance. So far, Maker has successfully tested this on Arbitrum and Optimism, but they have not implemented it yet so far. The third cross-communication tool that has emerged, and it's really exciting, all of these have just been released within the last 6 weeks. And Aave, I think, was in August. I know Zodiac is going to be presenting here too. And so there's a lot of exciting stuff that's happening right now. And so the Gnosis Guild Zodiac bridge model is a bit different. It's kind of centered around the Gnosis safe architecture, which I think a lot of people believe will be a founding or building block for a lot of DAO infrastructure, and that just enables a much more modular, flexible use for governance actions. With Aave and Maker, those cross-chain communication tools are very much designed specifically for Aave and Maker actions, but the Gnosis safe design kind of enables a much wider use of that. And then the other big difference between the Gnosis Guild Zodiac Bridge module and Maker and Aave is that Gnosis Guild's Zodiac Bridge module is actually incorporating its own bridge infrastructure. So in the documentation that was released, it uses the arbitrary message bridge, the AMB, for cross-chain communication. Now, this has already been widely used by the DXdao team, and so this is actually what governs that bridge that connects mainnet to DXdao, and it appears that the Zodiac Bridge module is going to use those same validator set to be able to enable cross-chain communication across any EVM chain. So with the Gnosis Guild Zodiac Bridge module, you will not necessarily be dependent on the native bridge, as opposed to the Aave and Maker ones that don't come wrapped in their own bridge. So I guess the question probably should have asked earlier, but why not set up new independent governance frameworks on new chains? Why not set up the same system that exists on mainnet for Aave or Maker, and why not just put that same system on Polygon or another layer 2? Well, the answer is tokens can be bridged for governance attacks on small bases. If you have the Aave based on Polygon controlling what collateral is added or subtracted, that could be a very appealing attack vector for someone with some Aave, some tokens that they can go bridge over to Polygon and basically have a governance capture there. So these structures are really limited to where their core governance is happening. So that's why they're relying on communicating governance actions from Ethereum mainnet to other chains. And now DXdao's has a much different approach. So DXdao's non-transferable governance processes a different approach to cross-chain governance. So just a quick background on DXdao. So launched in 2019, and DXdao is much different than most other DAOs out there, where a lot of the DAOs, as I said at the beginning, were kind of prompted by DeFi, right? You have a DeFi protocol, then you create a DAO. DXdao is the opposite, right? It's a DAO first, and then kind of found its way into DeFi, as this is an area that's blooming, we can govern there. It uses a reputation-based governance system as opposed to a token-based governance system. So if you have a compound token and you buy and sell that compound token, along with it is the governance rights to compound protocol. But DXdao is governed by reputation holders, and reputation is non-transferable and associated with a specific Ethereum address. So this means it basically cannot be bought or sold. There's almost 500 reputation holders that are governing Swapper, which is a decentralized exchange, Omen, and then a $80 million treasury. And right now we're all on chain. We pay out about $200,000 a month in our burn rate every month to 15 to 20 contributors, all through on-chain proposals. And again, so the difference kind of in our approach is less about the communication between the bases and more about having native level governance on these chains. When DXdao launched in 2019, obviously launched on Ethereum mainnet. That is our home base. That's where all the main treasury lives, and that's also where we make product updates through proposal that changes the ENS domains. But also, as everyone knows, Ethereum mainnet is expensive and getting worse. So starting in the fall of last year, we started exploring setting up a new base on DXdao. And so this is where the reputation-based governance really gives us a big advantage, because we can take the same stakeholder set from mainnet and just clone it and put it on DXdao. Because reputation is non-transferable, it's associated with that same Ethereum address. All you have to do is assign the same voting power, the same governance rights to the same list of addresses on this new chain. So even though they're different independent chains, bases, the stakeholders, the people that are powering the governance are actually the same. So right now we use DXdao for worker payments. This is where proposals are doing because it's cheap and easy to do that. We also conduct the DXd buyback, which is a way that we can trustlessly place limit orders to repurchase DXd. And so that's our second base, and then we just launched our third base on Arbitrum 1. This enabled us to do a swapper airdrop. It has also allowed us to participate in kind of experiment with new governance contracts that we're doing. And so, yeah, there are some challenges to remain. So I mentioned before that there's not direct communication between these bases now. I think in the future it would be really great if we could have trustless fund transfers from one base to another. We do a lot of kind of maneuvering around of funds, and we need to do that. There's problems with syncing reputation across the bases because they will diverge over time. So right now we have kind of the adage that mainnet rep flows down to other bases. So if you have mainnet rep, you can always claim that on another base, but not necessarily vice versa. And then our governance 2.0 upgrade will introduce token-based governance, so we'll have to figure out if some of these challenges from there are there. So I'm seeing I'm running out of time, so I just had the key decentralization questions for people kind of going forward. Will mainnet voting be only done by whales? As we look to communicate from mainnet bases off-chain, are we doing enough to really enable cheap on-chain or cheap voting on mainnet? And then if multi-chain protocols can operate, or if protocols can operate across multi-chain, how do we ensure their decentralization vector there? So I'll stop there, and I don't know if I have time for questions or if I ran over, but thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. We do have time for questions. Maybe one or two quick questions, good answers. Who wants to do? Adrian, I know you.
Hey, awesome presentation. So you said in 2.0 you're going to introduce token voting, but in 1.0 is the reputation not tracked in tokens, or how is that?
Yeah, it's a single contract that it basically can mint and burn reputation, so it's not really a token in any sense of the word. So there's a certain amount that you have, but since it's not fungible, I don't think we would really be a token, so to say.
I see. Super, super cool. Wow.
Cool. One more question. No? Okay. Well, thank you, Chris. That was awesome.